guys, gonna be working on the mask again. You can see I've gotten pretty far. You can see those whitish areas. Those are where I've gone through and filled in a bunch of holes. But the other day I was working on this section right here, and I had a little chip out, and there's like a piece of the silicone and a bunch of air bubbles from the molding had caused a really weak spot, and so I fixed up some Aves Epoxy Sculpt, and I sculpted that back in that little dark spot you can see. And then on the back side I had a bunch of the stuff Aves mixed up, so I was like, I'm gonna go through and fill up a bunch of these bigger holes on the back side of the mask, so you can see all those little dark spots. That's what I used for that, and kind of was able to re-sculpt it. And then I was sanding right under the nose there, and I noticed that the primer started flaking off. I'm like, what in the heck? And the nose, I just kind of scratched it with my fingernail, and it started chipping out. And then I realized that it's real soft and rubbery. So that two-part epoxy, the snot that I shoved up Loki's nose, is never hardened really. It's cured, but it's like rubbery. So I'm gonna have to dig all that out. So now I'm gonna be digging the snot out of Loki's nose, and I gotta resculpt it with. I'm gonna use Aves this time because it doesn't really react with things, and it sticks and it gets real hard. I don't have to get all of it, but I got to get it off the surface because I can't have it flexing and cracking the paint and the primer. I don't want that to happen, because then I'll just have to wind up doing it later after it's painted. So taking care of the problem now. I'm glad I've discovered it, but it's annoying to have to do. Alright, that looks decent. It's a little puffy, but I can sand it down. I can, file and sand that in a little bit, so I'm okay with it being bigger than it needs to be. Getting rid of some of these little artifacts later, I can just do a little sandpaper and filing, and this little guy is sticking out just a touch too much. There. Yep. We'll see how that goes. Gotta let that harden. It's gonna take a day, so I'll be back in a second for you guys, but it'll probably be at least 24 hours before I'm back on this. Again, I'm not gonna film too much of this hole filling nonsense, but I've done quite a bit. It's a very tedious task. Actually, this area is not too bad, like as is. This isn't terrible. There's a little bit of here on the edge is kind of crappy, but there's been some deep pockets around here, and then this and this. All of that was really bad. This was all real bad. The whole chin was terrible. This was bad, but I don't think I can fix it. It's just too far gone. I could do like this little area here, the eye area, and then there's a whole bunch in this area. And then the back, I don't know that I'm going to spend too much more time on. I'm going to hit with primer and see what I can see. There's little spots like this. I don't know if that's even going to pick up on camera. The last stuff, the bigger stuff I've already filled in. Filled in last night, so this is pretty hard. Alright, I would say that I have the front of the mask done. I would say probably 90% of the holes are filled. There are still some areas like right around there, that cheek. There's a few holes, but it doesn't look as crazy off-putting as it did before. And actually, you know, it's wood. It's supposed to be wood, so it should have holes. But the backside, on the other hand, still looks like the surface of the moon. Just holes and holes and holes, and that's with me filling in a lot of the big ones already. I still got like some big ones here in the corners. It's really hard to see what I was doing when it's just the resin. Like, yeah, around the mouth, there's tons of holes. That's nuts. So I'm gonna do some more filling on this side because it just looks so bad. There's also some edge work. You can kind of see some lines of the mold along, you know, near that top edge, and kind of jumps down right in the center, kind of like a check mark almost shape, and then back up and kind of goes around the top edge. I want to remove anything that looks like a mold mark, get rid of that stuff. So basically I'm just going to pick at that stuff. I'm going to fill in these holes with, probably just use some Aves and individually treat the big ones, and then maybe I'll do some putty work on the small ones. And of course I forgot to press play when I was using my airbrush. Oh, that's hilarious. Anyways, it's all primered now. It looks a lot better. I still have a couple spots I got to deal with here. They're still look kind of spongy, bready, lots of little tiny holes. It's hard to tell when it's all kind of mixed colors and stuff like that. So I'll be throwing down a little bit more putty to fill those in. Probably not going to film that because who cares. And then yeah, it's repaired. It's ready for paint, which is really kind of the last thing. So that's exciting. I'm excited. This is taking a lot more work than I thought it would. Anyway, new airbrush. Well, not new airbrush. Fixed airbrush. Like new airbrush.